You've already heard a lot about measurement today, and it ain't going to be the last time. Marketers are under increasing pressure to show measurable marketing results, and particularly on their advertising investment. And much of this responsibility falls on media. It's also the Media Leadership Council's top priority, and it's one of the areas of closest collaboration between our industry organizations. So if you were to ask Bob Liodice, the CEO of the ANA, what his areas of focus are and what marketers are finding important right now, I think a safe bet would be that one of the first words out of his mouth after common sense would be measurement. And Gail Fuguitt's career has been built around measurement too, and today you'll hear more about the ARF, which she leads, but it's also going to become much more central to our huge push for better measurement. So firstly, Bob, you've been a huge pioneer in media measurement issues, and you brought them to the fore, and together with the 4A's and the IAB, you can be considered one of the creators of the Making Measurements initiative, Making Measurement Make Sense, the 3MS. That's been going for about 2 years now. Its first iteration, which is viewability, should be announced and should be launched by the end of March, which is just a couple of weeks' time. This is a really big deal, right?
It is a really big deal. And first of all, thank you, John, for having us. And what a wonderful 4A's conference. So really, really glad to see the focus in on measurement as a very, very key priority. 3MS is a big deal. Actually, behind the scenes, it's been going on for about 4 to 5 years. Think about the challenge that we have in front of us. So much of what we do is unmeasured. It's not as scientific as it could be. And this is all about dollars that are supposed to be going in all of our respective pockets. So what we've been trying to do is to accelerate the change for progressivity, to make this far more scientific. And for us to be able to do this in a better, more comprehensive, more scientific way, we had to change the rules of the game. And we could only do that by a level of collaboration across the industry. One of them was focused in on digital. And we always said that this was supposed to be the most accountable medium, and we found out that it was the least. And one of the key problems is that we were focused in on measuring on served impressions. Well, looking at it retrospectively, we see how archaic that was. And just like we've made advancements in measurement of television, radio, and print, we had to do the same thing for digital. And we focused in on digital display ads, and now we're on video, and then we have to turn to mobile. There's so much at play here. It's more than just about the dollars. It's about the way that we do business. It's about getting accountability into the system. It's about ensuring that we find a way to ensure that marketers and the agencies that are supporting those marketers' decisions have the capability to do this in a way that is logical, that is understandable, that gives us the ability to make decisions the right way based upon the facts. We need to be able to make decisions based upon facts and data instead of gut and intuition. So yes, viewable is a game changer, and it is going to change the way that we do business.
And I know that some publishers, and particularly publishers in the long tail, are concerned because, depending on whose statistics you believe, up to 40 or 60% of the servable impressions may only be viewable. What is this going to do to quality, and what would you say to publishers? Is this a good thing for publishers or a bad thing for publishers?
Well, like anything, change is hard, and it's going to be disruptive, and it's going to be painful. But in the end, just the fact that we're making decisions based upon what has the potential to be seen as opposed to what is served, in and of itself, just the sheer definition is going to advance quality. So all of us, small, medium, large-sized publishers, have to make that transition, have to be able to make that change. It is a no-brainer. We have crossed the line. We are moving. We are advancing. We will be succeeding. But we all have to take the painful steps to be able to get us there. If we do not, we are just going to live in the Stone Age. We're going to be making decisions based upon gut and innuendo, and that's the wrong place to be. And if you listen to the marketers, their CEOs are pressing them to be able to prove what it is that they're investing millions and billions of dollars for. And if, in fact, they do not have the right measurement systems, they're going nowhere. Dollars are going to be coming off the table. So, yeah, it's going to be painful, but in the end, it's going to actually attract more dollars to the most measurable medium because we're going to know exactly what we're getting for.
And what it might do for publishers, too, is it might focus publishers on placing advertising and creating advertising that is more likely to be viewable because that's what they're going to be paid on in the future, right?
Absolutely, and that you just hit the nail on the head. I couldn't have said it any better myself. The fact is that marketers want to have that ability to understand the effectiveness of their advertising. And if, in fact, it's going to be guesswork for the archaic served impression methodology, money is going to be drifting out. And in fact, there is a lot of concern about whether, in fact, we're seeing any type of digital media erosion out there. And it's factored in a couple of places well beyond measurement. We're talking about piracy and click fraud and other types of issues that our marketers are now challenging whether they are getting every dollar that they are putting into it. You know, certain studies have suggested that for every dollar that a marketer is putting in towards digital media, they're only getting 50 cents applied to the actual media itself. And there are a lot of issues that are complicating that, one of the most importantly being is measurement.
Yeah. So viewability is huge. I mean, I've heard you say it, it's the biggest advancement since we had third-party ad serving, and it's going to take measurement forward. But the Making Measurement Make Sense initiative is more than just viewability. It was the first step.
Right.
What's after viewability? What's the broader issue? And Gail, I'll get to you now because I'm interested in your view about this too.
Yeah, this is the first step of a lot. And what is next is that viewability will allow us for the development of the eGRP. The GRP that will allow us to be able to compare television, radio, print, other forms of media on a comparable basis. This gets us to the point of being able to do cross-platform analytics across the board. That is going to be the holy grail. We keep talking about it in conferences such as this. Across the ANA, the ARF, cross-platform analytics is exactly what this industry needs because we are doing so much integrated marketing. And so much marketing right now is in an unmeasured fashion. Being able to develop the eGRP and get this on a comparable basis will allow for those comparable cross-platform analytics, substantially improve marketing mix modeling, improve the decision-making capability, and in my viewpoint will allow us to have a better understanding of how integrated marketing should best be managed.
Yeah, that's terrific. So, and Gail, 3MS is not just about digital, but what are the broader measurement implications for the industry, through the 3MS initiative?
Right. So, John, I'd like to just remind everyone and kind of level set that the Advertising Research Foundation was actually founded 76 years ago by the 4A's and the ANA. And since that time, and at that point in time, we were actually founded because the government was jumping in and trying to regulate the advertising industry. And these two fine organizations said, we would like to actually regulate ourselves. And I think it's really fascinating that we find ourselves in a pretty similar circumstance today. I was at General Mills for 32 years, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, and I retired. I failed retirement. And I actually have been in New York City for now a year working at the Advertising Research Foundation trying to help bring this area of measurement forward. And I think the biggest challenge is that the models and the metrics do not keep up with exactly where the consumer is today and what consumer behavior is today. And so what we're asking the industry is whose models are keeping up with the consumer today, whose metrics are. And if you think about it and you think about the way that you actually consume media, our metrics right now measure either television or they measure mobile or they measure print or they measure audio. But actually, you could be listening to the radio and texting at the same time. You might be watching television and flipping through a magazine at the same time. And so it's incumbent on us as a measurement industry to figure out how to get to real consumer-friendly cross-platform measurement. It's critically important. And there are some examples like Project Blueprint in the industry where ESPN and other organizations, ComScore and Arbitron, have gotten together and SIM, and they've put forward some really excellent kind of more relevant and consumer-friendly metrics. I think the second big challenge is actually integrating creative into the discussion. And so at the ARF, what we're doing is we're actually investing in neuroscience because we don't believe that you can count your way through to growth. That's not the only kind of metric and measurement that we should be looking at. And then to build on something that Bob said, I think what we really want to do is we want to get into the C-suite, and we want to really understand how to get at those resource allocation decisions, not just the advertising decisions. We want to actually garner the possibility and the probability, and what I worked on at General Mills, to be able to actually increase our advertising spending to build brand value instead of discounting and spending that money on trade promotion. So there's work that we're undertaking as well to figure out how to build brand value and build leadership skills to be at the decision table at the C-suite and advocate for the consumer.
So I know, and it's clear that you want to be central to this cross-media measurement debate, which is absolutely critical for us, and you creating something called the Measurement Summit. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, Bob hosted the Measurement Summit. A group of us in the industry got together, and we've started just basically saying, all right, what are the issues that we need to bring back to the industry? And it's collaborative, right? So we're actually responding to what Dana Anderson invited us to do yesterday. It's probably not, as she said, not for the faint of heart from time to time, but we're getting together, we're going to have a SWOT analysis, we're going to go through, we're going to say, what are the biggest issues that the industry is facing? What do we need our invocation to the research industry to be? And I'm here today because I believe so strongly in collaboration, but my conference in New York City, Rethink, is actually starting in 5 days. And we're going to be challenging the research industry and the insights industry to say, what do we need to do in order to increase consumer engagement and measure consumer engagement better than it has ever been before, and get in real time. We need to measure mobile, right? Mm-hmm. Our precision is much higher on tried and true media vehicles like television, which is still critically important, but we need to be on the fastest growing vehicles as well.
I think it's a great point. You made it the other day, is we're so good on classic measurement, but in social, listening, mobile, and in all of those new areas, we're still learning, and those are the fastest growing areas. So this, Bob, this sounds like an amazing collaboration, and it has to be because we're measuring across platforms, and consumers are consuming across platforms. So the whole measurement, the whole collaboration between the ANA and the ARF and the 4A's and the IAB, is the whole collaborative area in measurement is new, and I think it's critical, isn't it?
Yeah, let me build on what Gail has said. One of the facts that I don't think that we appreciate is that in the history of advertising and marketing, who is responsible for measurement? What association, what organization? The reality is no one. We've come this far, and we have not had a guiding hand to be able to move the industry forward. As a result, there's been a vacuum, and that vacuum is filled for the for-profit measurement companies. And we get to follow along what they think is important, rather what we think is important. What we're trying to do is to take control of the agenda, to bring it in-house, so that we have the responsibility of knowing what the priorities are, what are the things that are important to our respective constituencies, and what's going to make the most meaningful difference as we develop marketing targeted at consumers and customers. So the purpose of this summit, the purpose of this focal point, is for the industry to build on the foundations of what we learned from 3MS and to work collaboratively to be able to build a measurement agenda and to develop a governance system that will allow us to be able to understand what the priorities are within the measurement community, which touches us all. Again, we also need to think differently about what is the right currency for us to be thinking about, and the currency is money. We never think about, gee, what is that change going to be? What's that impact going to be on our bottom line? Well, this is about investing millions to generate billions. And we never think like that. We never talk about the money that's being left on the table. And the purpose of this group is to change the decision-making, change the governance, and obviously to ensure the productivity of what it is that we try to do across the board.
So I think what's terrific about this is you're speaking with the voice of the marketers, and I think that most of the people in the room are from advertising companies, and advertising companies tend to listen more clearly when it's marketers telling them what to do than when it's market trends telling them what to do. But this requires a huge amount, this is a complex issue, it requires a huge amount of communication. What can we as an industry do better to talk about the Measurement Summit, to talk about 3MS, viewability, what's beyond that, the the common language across the GRP. How do we go forward and communicate this much more clearly?
Well, it's a great point, and that's the reason why I said we need an organizational structure to be able to get us there. I think 3MS got us going. We learned a lot of hard lessons by understanding how to collaborate and to be able to mesh our respective interests. But once we figured that out and started to have that common language and being able to develop that common agenda, all of the other conversations suddenly got easier because we recognized that there was a convergence of interests. And now that we have the partners from the ARF on board, and now that we have the leadership of the Media Ratings Council, organizationally, we are bringing multiple constituencies that are, in fact, having a common language and speaking a common message and aligning the respective interests that, in fact, is going to improve the overall decision-making of marketers. What we've not done is we've not done a good prioritization of what is necessary. Because somebody said it before, he says, we could do anything, but we can't do everything. So right now, what is very important for us is to figure out what it is that we need to do next. We hear a lot about mobile, and we know that mobile right now is not the most measurable media and not necessarily in a place where we can understand the impact of our respective investments and the impact of mobile marketing as it's integrated within the balance of marketing. So I think a real key next step for this summit is to be able to step back and set the prioritization, number one. Number two, we have to be able to step back and ensure that we have the proper resources funding this. This isn't cheap to do. But I will say this, is that the payoff is incredible. I'm not kidding when I said we have to be able to invest millions in order to be able to get billions. We also have to learn how to change business and change the way we do business. John, you alluded to it before when you talked about some of the pain that some of the publishers are going through and some of the measurement practices and protocols that we have to follow. It is painful, and we do have to change the way we do business. We cannot be complacent and just settle for same old, same old. So that requires a fundamental, no pun intended, but incredible transformation for the way we do business.
So Gail, what's after the Media Measurement Summit? What's after your summit? How do you move forward, and how are you going to integrate the ARF more into all of the things that we've been talking about now?
Right, so we're doing original research in cross-platform, in neuroscience, in the area of mobile, and in the area of foundations of data quality, which includes kind of getting at this privacy issue. I think to build on these initiatives, what we're really all about is identifying emerging and kind of, I consider, bleeding edge solutions and techniques that people are actually creating right now in businesses at their decision tables, and getting them out and evangelizing, showcasing those solutions, and then evangelizing the leaders that are actually able to compel their decision makers to try new things. Because I think, and the question has been asked, like, who's going to lead the charge kind of back at the advertisers? And I think that the new researcher needs to lead the charge. The new researcher is the person that will understand the data, but also is sitting at the decision table and can help synthesize all that material and tell a story about it on behalf of the consumer, in the voice of the consumer, and then take a stand for the decision. And we'll be able to measure growth opportunities, not just ROI.
That's terrific. So you've heard it from the voice of the marketer. Measurement and cross-media measurement is key. The ARF is back in a big way, which is I think it's fantastic. You also heard about a new level of collaboration between our organizations on measurement, but particularly on cross-media measurement. I'd like to thank Bob and Gail very, very much for highlighting this important point for us.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.